Hello, welcome to the Dinsmore Homestead. My name is Cathy Callopy.
And my name is Hillary Delaney. I'm with the Boone County Public Library's Local History Department.
And right now we're in the Dinsmore Homestead's kitchen cabin. This is where most of the cooking was done for the Dinsmore family from 1842 until 1916, when the family decided to build a kitchen onto the main house. The reason for having an outdoor kitchen did have to do with the possibility of fire, but much more with the idea that they wanted to keep the main house cool in the summertime if possible.
Today we're going to cook one of Martha McComb Dinsmore's recipes for soft gingerbread.
She wrote down a lot of the recipes, so even if she wasn't the one baking them, Martha, who was born in 1797 and died in 1859, did leave some evidence of what she enjoyed making around Christmas time. And it was probably baked by Nancy McGruder, an enslaved woman who would have done a lot of the cooking and baking on the property.
So the recipe calls for 5 eggs, which we would put together and mix with molasses, 2 cups of molasses, and just mix that up and add the ginger and the spices.
5 eggs, that sounds like a lot, Hillary.
It's a lot of eggs. 5 eggs are there because this is a soft gingerbread recipe, as opposed to what you would make with for a gingerbread house or gingerbread men, which is more like cookies. So soft gingerbread is really a ginger cake, so the eggs would help it to rise and be a little softer in texture. It also has 2 cups of molasses and 2 cups of sugar, which is an enormous amount of sweetening, especially for a 19th century recipe. We think probably because this was more of a celebratory dish. It's not something you would have every day. It might be for a Christmas celebration or a holiday meal. So once we've added all of the eggs and milk and sugars and molasses, we would pour in some butter that we've melted right here in the fireplace, hanging above the flames. It melts the butter pretty quickly, and you'd have to add that in to make it extra delicious. So 1.5 cups of butter is what this recipe calls for. So we would add that. I'd just spoon it right out and put it in my bowl. Once we get the batter ready, the batter would be poured into a cast iron pot. If you're cooking this at home, you would cook it sort of at a standard baking temperature of 350. At home it took about 40 minutes to cook, but here it would take significantly longer, and you'd have to monitor it to make sure that it's cooking evenly and maybe turn it. And so the batter would be placed inside, ashes on top of the lid and beneath, and it also has a little bit of that radiant heat from the fireplace coming from behind, and create a little oven. Oh my gosh. Oh, it looks great.
Beautiful.
We're going to bring it up to the table so you can take a look.
That looks absolutely wonderful.
And it does look fluffier and more like a cake than the gingerbread that I've seen. So I think it'll be moist with all that butter and sweet with all that sugar and molasses.
Yes.
So we're going to go ahead and take it over to the house.
I can't wait to try it.
Oh yeah. And Cathy's going to tell us a little bit more about the Dinsmore family and how they would have celebrated their Christmas meal. So let's get it over there.
Now we're in the Dinsmore Homestead's dining room. This is where the main meals would have been eaten, particularly at Christmas. We have about 8 inserts to the dining room table, so the Dinsmores usually had quite a few visitors. For a typical Christmas meal, we don't know exactly what they would have had, but they raised geese, they raised turkeys, they raised chicken, so probably a variety of meats, several meats would have been eaten. They enjoyed fruit compote, a nice way to preserve some of the fruit that they had. You see this wonderful centerpiece. Mm-hmm. James Dinsmore had over 1,000 apple trees, so they probably could have done something like that, although this is compliments of the Boone County Garden Club. Hams would have been a popular meat also because they did have 50 hogs, and they would have had some of that cured the previous year, and they'd be getting ready to cure some more for next Christmas.
Well, we have this gingerbread. Would you like to try it out?
I'd love to try it.
See how Martha's recipe holds up. The butter worked.
And I love the molasses.
Mm-hmm. I think it does need a little bit of whipped cream though.
The Dinsmore family actually moved into the house in 1842, and owned the house, their descendants, until 1987. So 5 generations of Dinsmores were owners of the home, and they left us everything here. All of the furniture, the pictures, the artwork, the clocks, everything stayed pretty much where it was. It really is a step back in time.
So I hope you enjoyed the historic Christmas here at Dinsmore in Boone County. And at the Boone County Public Library and Local History, we know that history can be delicious, and we like it that way.